Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my UGC content series. So today we're going to be talking about setting rates for your content, how to set rates for your content, everything that goes into that process, as well as the contracts. So like I mentioned in my previous video, including rates in your portfolio can be super important, but it's still a personal choice, and this is something I think you can definitely play around with. As you're getting started with your UGC journey and as you get brand deals and continue to create content for brands, this is something that you can include in your portfolio, take out, adjust the rates, etc. You don't want to lowball yourself, but you also don't want to not get a deal because you're not including your rates in there and brands just would rather not negotiate. So it can be a little tricky to sort of find that balance and navigate that, but today we're going to hopefully clear some things up so that you are able to understand how to set rates for your own content. So we are going to start with how to set rates for your content. Now, the most important thing that you are really going to want to remember is that brands are not going to be looking for your audience. They're not particularly interested in if you have a following or how big that following is. So when you're setting your rates, you really just want to focus on the video or the content itself and what's going into that whole process. So for videos, you want to think about how many videos you're making for the brand, the length of these videos, and how that video is being used, if there are any add-ons, if you're including anything extra. And if you do have a following, you do want to factor that in. That's going to be separate, but you do want to factor that in because that is added value. But again, it's only if you have a following, and that's not necessarily what we're talking about when we're talking about UGC creators. So again, for the purpose of a UGC creator, you are going to be making content that's going to live on a brand's socials and a brand's channels and not your own. So the most important thing that you'll want to consider when you're setting your rates is the amount of time that you're going to be spending making these videos or single video. So when you're thinking about time, it's not just the time it's going to take to film. There's a lot of other things that take time for this whole process of making content for a brand. You want to make sure that you're thinking about the time to research whatever you need to research for the brand, the time to reach out to the brand if you're reaching out to them, the time that takes with email correspondence, invoicing, all of that communication back and forth, as well as then the time to film the content, edit it, put it together, package it, deliver it to the brand. All of that you're really going to want to factor in. You wouldn't think that you need to just on the outset, but brands should understand that it's not just simply filming the video and sending it over. There's a lot that goes into the pre-filming, the actual filming, and the post-filming. So definitely think about all of this when you're setting your rates. I would say consider where you are also in your UGC journey. Don't set your rate super high if you are just starting out and have never worked with a brand before, but also don't do the opposite and set your rates at $30 a video. So really find a comfortable in between. And again, if you have never worked with brands and this is literally your base starting rate, I would just do the best you can in terms of your research and thinking about what other creators are charging and what makes sense for you and just kind of estimating what you think makes sense. And you'll learn as you go. So I would say that's the most important thing as far as that. And then as you start collaborating with brands and having proven success and having real examples of what you've done, real actual videos you've done for a brand, then you can start adjusting your rates and charging more, and just from there moving forward. It's just really fluid and something that can constantly be changing throughout your UGC journey. There are also a lot of great videos out there from other creators explaining how they set their rates. And there are articles from companies online that sort of have done research on the industry and have published articles about setting rates. So I will leave a couple of articles that I found linked down below, so you can definitely reference those and just do your research. Okay, so now we're gonna get into some other pricing details, other things related to your rates. There are a couple of other details regarding like the process of receiving payment, things that you should consider when you are negotiating rates from brands that you'll want to be aware of. First, I would say just make sure that you are receiving some percentage of payment before you send over any content to a brand. I would say 50% of the total payment is a good benchmark. That way you're able to receive some validation that they are gonna pay you, and then you can send over some content. So the only time I would say that you would do this is if you are sending over an example video before you send over the actual content that they are paying you for. If you send over something that's clearly stated, this is an example of what I can create for you, send it over, then obviously you don't need payment for that because that's not the actual content. But if you do that, make it really clear that that's an example and that's not something that they can actually use for their own brand. It's likely not even gonna be their product or their brand, so that shouldn't even be a confusion, but just to make it really clear, make sure that they know that that's an example. Next is going to be the legal aspect of it, so contracts. There are a couple elements that you and the brand want to be really clear on both ways so that there's no miscommunication later on. First, you want to make it really clear where that content is going to live. Be very clear on where exactly it's going to be used. You as the creator are able to decide what platforms you want that content to be on and what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. So make that really clear. Say, these are the platforms that I'm okay with having it on, and that's it. Second, you'll want to include when the payment must be made, how much and at what point the deposit needs to occur. So what I was talking about before about that 50% benchmark before you said anything, at what point they need to pay you that deposit. And third, make it really clear exactly what it is they're receiving from you. If it's one video, if it's two videos, if it's two videos and two photos, really make that clear again so there's no miscommunication or wrong expectations on either end. And fourth, be really clear about the delivery date. There are a few more elements, but I would say that those are the most important things that you really want to be aware of and just make really clear both ways. So overall, there are a lot of different factors to consider when you are deciding what you're going to charge and other factors that come into play when it's time to develop a contract. So just get a feel for it. Again, see what other creators are doing, what other creators are charging, and sort of think about yourself and your content and play around with it. I think the beginning part of a UGC journey is just a lot of trial and error and sort of figuring it out and testing the waters. So don't be afraid if that happens, and if you're going to be doing a lot of that in the beginning, definitely normal, don't worry about it. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and hopefully learned something from it. My next video is going to be about how to reach out to brands, some email templates, some DM templates, and correspondence advice for when you are communicating with a brand. So don't forget to watch the next video, and I will see you next time. Bye.